It came from that dang 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 dang. We had that. We only had that.
I think technically it goes dang 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 dang.
Hi, Zane.
Sup, Billy? Good to see you.
You too.
Wow, did it?
Wow.
What a smasher.
Thanks,
Love
man.
it.
I love it. I'm so happy that it's seeing the light of day.
Oh, me too, you know, because I just feel like this is another interstellar like experience. This is like another planet that you've gone on this one on every level. Like the track slaps, but you're just laying it out there. Like just the truth, just like everything you need to know is here. Check it out, listen or don't. That's what it is. Paint the picture, Billie Eilish. Paint the picture. What was it like making this song? Like, where did it even come from?
It came from that dang 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 dang. We had that. We only had that.
I think technically it goes dang 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 dang.
Yeah, it does. Phineas made that. Just that. Like we were just messing around. He just made that, and we were like, "Oh!" And it just was that, and just like dun, 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 dun. And it was way slower and pitched down. It was like really slow, this like crazy, and we would just listen to it, and we would just like walk around the room, like feeling it, and it was such a feeler. Oh my god, I kept picturing visuals for it, and like I kept picturing like legs and girls and like shapes and darkness and like this cool, and I was just like, we have to make something to this because this is a waste otherwise. um and then we literally made that whole song in like 2 days or something, like a day, I don't know, but it was like fun, satisfying ass process. It was very, very fulfilling.
I can tell because vocally you cover the whole ground. Like you start in such a sort of off the cuff throwaway manner, and then at the end, you're reaching places of power that you know you don't often show, which we know you have, but you show this ridiculous restraint in terms of how much you're willing to really let it go. But at the end, you're letting it go, like you're putting it out there. I feel
Absolutely. I really wanted it to be like just random, and not random, but kind of like unexpected almost. And that like, I don't even, honestly, it's so funny because I write with structure in my head about like verses and pre-choruses and then chorus and then verse, pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus, end. And that's kind of how I learned to write music, and same with my brother. And this song really, I don't even know like what is what. And that is cool to me.
that's what's so cool about it. It's like take that, put that there, do that there. It almost feels like you're sampling your performance to reach a different emotional space. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's not in my comfort zone, and that's fun to me. And so, that like whatever you'd call it, chorus, you couldn't say me, but you can't let me go, and I do that. Like that
That's so sick.
is some of my like that's my favorite thing ever. I think that, I don't know, I love that part, and it's like I feel like I've never done it before.
Yeah, no, when every time I hear it, I get the same sensation, which is kind of like this sort of this really uncomfortable kind of euphoria. Like I feel like I'm gonna move, but it's like it's not like the usual sense of like, hey, here we go, here's the drop. It's like it's kind of brilliantly awkward. I love it. And you know, I also love the fact that you're just the whole way you've put these songs out, to me, there's a thread that's flowing through it. I don't know if it's conscious or subconscious, and maybe I'm overthinking it. But I feel like you're regaining control in a weird way. It's like my future, therefore I am, right? Lost cause, your power, NDA. It's like, I've been somewhere and I want to grab it back.
I would agree with that. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to come back. Like I'm there, the break was cool, and I'm back,
So I want to talk about the album because I'm not going to, because just a little bit, I want to talk about how you and Phineas approached this one, how you approached building sounds and moods and feelings around what you were going through and what you wanted to say. because it's very clear to me that there's a sound that you've built around your words this time in a very, very purposeful way. Like sometimes it's going to be really restrained and the message is going to be right there. And sometimes it's going to be NDA and it's going to take you somewhere very strange. But each time it's kind of revolving around what you want to say, right? Every time.
There was just so much reflection. Like there was so much self-reflection that I was doing that, I was realizing things about my life that I had never even processed and realized that I had never processed. And same with things that I witnessed around me and, saw happen, and like just talking through it and getting it out of me, and then, making it sound good. And then, after the fact, some songs we wrote, like for instance, like Male Fantasy, which isn't out yet, obviously. But that song, we wrote and it kind of wrote itself. And afterwards, I'd listen, I'd be like, oh my God, like, wow, feelings, emotions, like you don't even realize they're there until like you do. But yeah, it's a crazy process, this album.
I use therapy for that. Every Wednesday, straight after this conversation, I'm
Good.
straight into my
into
it. Me too.
I love therapy. Everybody should go to therapy. Absolutely.
Yeah, I wondered what your relationship was like with therapy and the creative process, because I imagined you probably did. You've never talked to me about it. I've never talked to you about it, but I do it. And I just wondered sort of like how, it helps you clear the pathway for expression.
Yeah, it does. Dude, it like cleanses it. I have therapy once a week too, and I am so happy to, because it's not like, I genuinely believe that every human on earth should go to therapy, whether you feel this or that about your life, if you're happy or anything, like anyone should go, even if they think their life is just amazing and perfect and nothing's wrong. Every single person should go. And I think it helps my creative process because it makes me not word vomit, and it makes me not like have everything up here. It makes me talk through things, and then I think about them constantly. Like I talk through things in therapy that I don't even think about in my life. And then over the week, I'm like thinking about, wow, that thing we talked about in therapy, like I should write about that. Like that's really interesting. And it's really helpful. It like brings it out of you, and it's really necessary.
I have moments with my therapist where I sit down and I'm like, wow, okay, I'm on the clock now. I'm paying this dude. I like this dude and it's cool and whatever. But I have nothing to say to this guy. And then I'm like, well, just say the first thing that comes to mind. And then at the end of it, I'm just like, wow, we covered some ground.
Isn't that funny? Dude, some days I'm like, oh my God, I have therapy. What am I going to talk? I don't have anything to say. Like nothing's happened. And you get on the call and I immediately like, like I just shit out everything that's happened. And it's like, you didn't even know that you were going through it. It's crazy.
I'm excited you're back in the director's chair. I can't wait to see the visual for NDA. Can you sort of describe how it was and sort of, I mean, those images that you had when you were hearing the beat, did you follow them through?
It's definitely one of the coolest videos I've ever made in my life. And I directed it. It was pretty crazy. It's real too.
At this time of the album cycle, last time, the first time we met in France, and subsequently, as we got to know each other, you were just like, oh man, I was having a terrible time, so how is it this time? Like, does it get any better, or is it still suck?
It's it's much better. I mean, listen, it's a lot of work. Also, when you want to give your album a life and a big one, and you want people to listen, you got to do stuff to make that happen. You got to do shoots and shoots and shoots and shoots and shoots and
hello and yeah.
and all the things. And it's been a pretty punishing couple of weeks, I gotta tell you. I have cried probably 30 times. Like probably I've cried more in the last 2 weeks than I have in my whole life. But it's okay because, life moves on and things pass. But the whole process overall has been much better. I feel so much more confident and happy in my life and my personal life and my brain and my creativity. And but it's just, promo is tough. It's tough, but it's worth it. So
How important is and I mean, this is a genuine question, right? Person to person. How important is the concept of escape to keeping you present and actually keep you going?
it's vitally important. I think that it's tough because
Does that make sense, that question? Did I ask that right? You know what I mean when I say that?
it does. It's really important. And I wish that the public understood that more, of having a private life is really, really important. And also, a private life, people go, well, it's not private because we figured it out. It's like, that's because you were invading my privacy. I was being private. And that's really how I feel in like all areas of my life. And I respect people's privacy. I respect the public's privacy, my fans' privacy. I want them to have their own lives and do their own thing. And then we come together and we connect. And that's how I feel about everyone I know.
Yeah, and it has purpose and it has meaning and it matters because everyone there is invested in that experience as opposed to being drawn into it. I kind of figured that's what NDA is about, right? It's really about you addressing these very specific situations that people now know about that have affected your sense of privacy. And I want to know at the end, when you say that I push it too far, that I take it too far, whether or not you're sort of asking yourself that question.
You know what I love about that part is that even I, who wrote it, and Phineas, who wrote it, that little ending, like, I have like 8 different meanings for that. And that's what I love about it. When I hear it, each time I hear it, I think of a different thing. I think of a different perspective, a different, like, am I saying it to this in this way? Am I saying it this way? I love that. It makes me feel very fulfilled.
Well, it's always kind of it normally applies. That line that I go too far applies mainly when you're asking someone, did I take a joke too far? Did I go too far? And yet what I loved at the end of it was it made me feel like you were sort of asking yourself like, did I go too far? Did I let everybody in too far? Did I take it? Did I take on too much last time? Did I welcome all this in?
That's amazing. And it's absolutely true. It's a question I ask all the time. Did I let too many mm, eyes into my brain?
Billy, thanks for taking a few minutes to let me kind of dive into a few essential questions I had about the album and some of the themes. Um, like I said, I think this album is going to be in your lifespan and over the course of your creative life, maybe the most important for various reasons, you know?
Yeah, I do agree. I feel that already. I feel so impacted by this project, and I am beyond happy about that. So I hope that, yeah, it can move on in that same realm